So today we're sitting with Jennifer Poe, and we're going to be talking about estate planning, why it's important, and some of the things that can happen when you don't properly plan. So everybody, welcome Jennifer. How you
Hi,
doing?
hi, Shanita. Thanks for having me. It's you and I go way back. It's been a process,
It's been a process.
it's been a process, and I think you came into my world at the time. My parents or my father was getting ready to transition,
Yeah.
and we needed some assistance with estate planning. So it's been like a 20 year
Oh wow. Yeah.
journey. It's been a while,
Almost close,
almost
close to 20 years, but
20
not
years.
quite 20.
Okay,
All right.
it's been a
So
process, and you've been great assisting the family through it all.
okay.
Thank you.
All right. So with respect to the topic at hand, so tell us what was how did your family get here? What was the family
Okay.
business?
The family business was basically real estate. My dad had owned several properties on the west side of Chicago. He was a humble man, and his real estate holdings were very important to him. He was
Okay.
very proud of his journey. He was originally from Sunflower, Mississippi, a little country boy, so he was very proud
Mm-hmm.
of all of his estate holdings. So he had about 8 properties on the west side back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think I was 11 years old when we first moved in the first property he had on the west side. And from there, he, with the assistance of my mom, continued to buy
Okay.
and grow
Mm-hmm.
his properties on the west side. His whole dream was to have a little dynasty, if you will,
Oh
of
wow.
real estate holdings,
Okay.
and each member of our family to have a piece of that pie, if you will. Because when we initially moved to the west side, we all lived not in the biggest apartment. We actually lived in the coach house. So
Oh.
you had 4 children and the parents. This is the sacrifices he made. So he started renting out the larger apartments
Okay.
because it would bring in more income.
Yeah.
And then from there, he just expanded.
Okay.
He had a great mind for business. He was very strategic, methodical, and he was just a great man. And more than anything, which they don't teach here, but he had the most beautiful penmanship you ever wanted to see in your life. And I do, I every now and then I have saved some of his writings, and he was just a wonderful man, really. And then on the other hand, you had my mom and my father. I would add, great businessman, but also introvert.
Okay.
So whereas Q and my mom, totally opposite,
Mm-hmm.
extrovert. She knew a good thing when she saw it,
Yeah.
and so she was his push.
Okay.
She was definitely his push. So and over the course of the years, they grew their little empire, if you will. Then I would think things started to fall apart when he first got ill. His health started to decline. He also had properties in his hometown of Sunflower, Mississippi. He
Okay.
had a little pig farm
Mm-hmm.
down there. He would go twice a year, and he had actually some people down there running the farm during his absence. And he also owned a plot of land in Kankakee. So, like I said, it wasn't just the real estate. He owned land.
Okay.
He owned land,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to build on that land. And that was all he wanted for his family, for us to have a piece of that real estate pie. So, as I said, it was once his health started to decline, slowly at first and then rapidly. Actually, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that point, let me back up a little bit. He started to sell off some of the properties on the west side.
Okay.
So for a while there, we had a sizable income, disposable income. And he entrusted one particular member of the family more so than any other. I think it was because of her background. She had an insurance background and to some degree accounting. And
Okay.
I think these qualifications, he felt more. Not that he didn't. Maybe he didn't trust her more than anyone else. It's just I think he relied on her background.
Okay.
Whereas I was much younger, just starting into the legal field, and so. And as it turned out, when he started to rely on her more and more heavily, and his health started to decline, he decided to quick deed few of the properties over to her because of tax purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was an incident with one of the tenants, which actually was successfully litigated, but they did sue my parents. But again, it was successfully litigated, but that gave them a scare.
Okay.
So he didn't want the risk of losing all of his property. So that was when all of this started for him to start quick deeding
Yes.
some of his property for safekeeping over to one of the members of my family.
Okay.
So again, he had a great deal of trust doing this. Other than the quick deed, there was no other documents stating the strategy, if you will. At some point and given time, she was supposed to uh, redeed the property to him. There was no additional documentation whatsoever.
Okay. So, so when you say quit deed, you mean a quit? You call it a quit claim deed.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's what
All
I
right.
mean.
And so,
For a dollar?
yeah,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So the quit claim deed and the consideration is nominal,
Right.
and that's what most people use to give their interest in a piece of property to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, when it came to your dad, I don't think I ever met your dad.
No, you didn't,
Yeah.
because at the time we got you involved, what had happened, he was actually transitioning. He was
Okay.
close to being on his deathbed.
Okay.
And at that point, that's when this one particular family member started, for the lack of a better word, doing some sketchy things.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of the fallout with this particular family member. And the trust had totally like eroded at that time. It was
Okay.
no going back at that point. She just At that point I just knew it. The trust was just gone. And so my mother realized the trust was gone as well. If there were some red flags that we had both seen, my mother and I, but again, because of the level of trust my dad had for this person, we chose to ignore it. Okay. My mother and I would talk about it amongst ourselves, but we never really acted on it. And by the time we realized what was going on, it was too late to really act on it. Yeah. He had already declined mentally, was declining fast physically. And so that's when we first sought out your help with what was our next move? What can we do?
Okay, so at the point where you sought legal counsel from me, Dad was incapacitated.
Right.
Okay?
You
So
had told
Dad,
us at that point it was like virtually too late.
yeah, so he didn't
He
have
was
the
incapacitated. He was not
capacity
of
to do
sound mind.
anything estate
Right.
wise. So when it comes to the real estate holdings that you guys had at the time, um, what properties still remained at that time?
Well, the property that remained at the time was a rather large property of 13 units,
Okay.
which it was fully in my mom's name.
Okay.
He had about 3 other properties at that time, which unbeknownst to my mother and myself, because he had relied on this one individual of the family so greatly, those properties would be at the beginning of foreclosure.
Hmm.
It came to our knowledge after he passed, actually. He and this person, through her assistance, had taken out what you call at that time bubble loans.
Mm.
Yeah, the high interest loans.
Yeah.
That was when that was really, really big, I guess.
Okay.
Late 90s, early 90s. And by the time I had gotten involved, my mother had asked for me to get involved. Let's see what we can salvage here. Yeah. And all the properties that we did salvage, or the one that we salvaged, was the one that was totally in my mom's name, not the ones that he had turned over to this individual. And again, as I said, by the time we got involved, we realized he had all these bubble loans or high interest loans, and they were in foreclosure. I had called to the point that for one of the properties, I had called the loan uh, agency, and they said because my name was not on the deed or on the property, he couldn't even talk to me, because my mom and I were trying to set up some kind of payment, or how we could save this property. They wouldn't even deal with us because our name, my mother, who was his widow, they wouldn't even deal with her. It was all because he had put the name of this individual on the quit claim deeds.
So, and was it a quit claim deed on all of the properties or just one?
It's funny you say that. At one point, he had it on all, but by the grace of God, the one that we were able to salvage, my mom, it came through the grapevine that one particular individual uh, had told a few of the neighbors that he owned the property because he was bragging to the alderman. And anyway, it got down to my mom that this person, who was also the son-in-law of the individual that my father trusted in the family, he was going around telling neighborhood people or anybody who would listen that that was his property, because he knew it was in her name. So they were really waiting on my dad's death, to be exact. So when my mom caught wind of that through a neighbor that this individual was going around saying the property, it was his property, she immediately told my dad. So my dad may not have been that far gone to the point that he couldn't reverse the ownership of that, which he did. And that is how we were only allowed to have one property still standing, because my mom had the wherewithal when it got back to her that this individual was bragging to his friends and neighbors that that was his property through this person my dad had trusted, because he was in essence her son-in-law.
So in trying to, so let's go to the point where dad died,
Yeah.
right? And so, dad died, and what had to happen now?
Well, it was a big mess, lots of litigation. What had happened was this individual tried, in essence, as how I see it, tried to blackmail my mother. If you want this property back, I need A, B, and C from you. And you can't kick me out. You can't do this, and you owe me money. This individual never paid any money, any monetary expenses at all on the property, not at all. But in essence, she was trying to blackmail my mother. And my mother said, no, the property now is in your name. You want it, you got it. So, in essence, when we got you more involved in that particular litigation, it was because she now wanted my mother to take the property back from her, because now it was falling into foreclosure like the other properties she had managed for my dad. Now, where all that money went over the years, we don't know, but it was definitely some sketchy stuff going on because
Okay.
of his trust in her. Yeah.
Okay. So, once dad died, uh, and because of all this stuff was now just starting to
Unravel.
unravel,
Yes.
and things were, not the way that your mom wanted them to be.
Not at all.
Um, did your mom do any estate planning of her own?
Yes. Well, the whole thing shook my mother up, shook me up as well, because actually it really destroyed my blind faith I had in family members. And so what we decided to do. Now, let me back up a little bit. Prior to all this, even prior to my dad's declining health, I did try to encourage them to do some estate planning. And given their cultural background, being from Mississippi, there's just some things they never really discuss. Even after, the grown kids coming to them say, Mom and Dad, have you guys thought about a will? It was something that just really, like, I don't know, spooked them about having a will. I don't know. But anyway, after my dad passed, we had to go through, oh my gosh, as you know, so much to take care of his estate planning. He had property in Kankakee. We had to go take care of that, get that sold off. Of course, he had his pig farm down in Mississippi. Uh, my dad absolutely had no estate planning whatsoever. So going back to the property, the one piece of property, building, commercial property we had, that went to court. And she actually took my mother to court to sue her to get that off of her, I guess, out of her
Out of her
name.
name.
Out of her name.
Yeah. And that
Uh
was through probate.
that was through probate.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, my mom, thank God for your assistance. We were successful. The judge ruled against her. So the property was in fact in her name.
Mm-hmm.
So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You reap what you sow.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted that property desperately. She did whatever she could do to get it. And given that she did not have the income to maintain the property, that is when she wanted my mom to then step in and take it off of her hands. And and in all fairness to my mom, at one point she was thinking about doing it, but she told her, she said, "You have 30 days to give me back this property. If you don't, it's on you." But she was playing the long game at that point. She didn't realize how much effort and money it took to keep commercial property.
Mm-hmm.
You had codes with the city,
Mm-hmm.
you had fines with the city,
Mm-hmm.
you had commercial insurance you needed to have. And all of this, somehow, I guess because my parents made it so easy with the several properties
Or
they
made it
owned,
seem easy.
or made it seem easy. There you go. My parents made it seem easy. So it was at that point when she really got involved with it, she realized, wait a minute, I don't have the income to pay commercial rent insurance. I don't have the income to do the maintenance on this property. And each day the city's coming out inspecting and giving you fines. So then was a whole can of worms that she had to open up. And at that time, on that particular property, she had one tenant remaining, and she didn't know how to take care of the heating units in the tenant. I mean, in the building, she knew nothing. She did a grab of the property, but she did nothing. So that one maintaining tenant, of course, she left. You know, and that's really when it sort of like fast forwarded. The property was in foreclosure at that point, and she knew she couldn't get out of it.
So it sounds like the idea that your dad and mom, for all intents and purposes, may have had was that you were building something for family,
For family,
right? And family is supposed to, come together, work together,
right?
to make sure that whatever assets that that are acquired remain in the family,
In the
and the
family,
and the family helps operate those.
in the family. And may I add, in the family, in both instances, this individual worked with an outside source as well as another one. So there were two outside forces that came within the family, thought they were going to do a quick grab, and they wound up empty handed.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it wasn't family that did the majority of this.
Mm-hmm.
It was outsiders who came in between the family,
Okay.
and a family member leaned towards the outsiders.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of just
It just tore the whole family apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the probate was open for your dad.
Yeah.
And of course, when you die in the state of Illinois without a will, we call that intestate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that the heirs are determined according to the law.
Right.
So your dad, was he your biological dad, or was
He was not my biological dad, but he raised me since age
Okay.
3. I never referred to him as stepfather.
Okay.
I always referred to him as father, but I know according to the court. So my dad only had one biological child,
Okay.
and that was my younger brother.
Okay. So so in essence, the probate estate that was filed, this individual filed it as a creditor of the estate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
True.
And so because your mom was the surviving spouse, she had what we call preference.
Right.
And because she had preference, she filed a competing petition, which of course knocked the creditor out, which put her in primary position to administer his estate. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So and by the laws of intestate succession, the only rightful heirs to the dad's estate was your mom, which would have been 50%,
Mm-hmm.
and then your brother, which would
The
be the other
biological
50%.
son. Absolutely.
Okay. And so as we know too, and probably well, you know it now.
Mm-hmm.
You probably didn't know it then,
Mm.
but what I told you, creditors, it kind of depends on where you fall in the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
And so I often tell people that uh, probate protects creditors and it
Mm-hmm.
don't really protect heirs. Now the heirs do end up benefiting,
Yes.
but it comes after creditors'
Get
claims
theirs
are
off the top.
paid,
Mhm.
and after administration expenses and things of that nature are paid. So, had this individual been successful as a creditor
Mm-hmm.
in the claim that was filed, um, that person would have received whatever they thought they were entitled
Right.
to before your mom got her
Mhm.
50% and before your brother would even get his 50%.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened that because of the way these the business dealings between your dad and this individual really wasn't done properly.
Right.
It kind of worked out, but it really didn't work out. It worked out because the claim was not approved.
Right.
Right.
Her claim. Right.
Right. But it didn't work out because it caused for all this messiness that could have been avoided and
Right.
had partnership agreements. You could have put properties in corporations to have shareholder agreements, whatever it is, something in writing to spell out, what happens in the event of A, B, C, and D to protect everyone's interest. You would have even, number one, spent the legal fees
Right.
because now you're out of legal fees and you're out of the properties, right?
All of the properties and the family has been.
And you would have been
Right.
able to deal with, the lien holders
Right.
at an earlier point
Right.
than before, the probate action was filed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, in an effort to not have this happen again, did your mom
Oh
do
yes.
anything about planning her estate?
My mom and myself as well. Yeah, it was after that. She knew she did not want to leave me with this kind of a mess ever again.
Okay.
It was a nightmare. It was frightening, and there were divisions in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was shortly after we had settled all that, and my mom fared well. She was successful in that litigation. Uh, she immediately got, well, I even think prior to that, she got things, her will set up,
Okay.
made me her power of attorney in health and as well as financial.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole segue into like things you need to do. So this whole thing was a path for us to realize what we need in place going forward. And my dad, and God knows how I loved him, but he left such a mess for us to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
My mother knew she did not want that for me because she and I had to get through this together.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want anyone to go through that again.
Okay.
So my mom, that was enough. So she got her house in order,
Mm-hmm.
and she was comfortable with how she got her house in order,
Mm-hmm.
and she was able to rest behind that, you
Okay.
know. Um, so at the time of her passing, that was rather suddenly, came
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere. But I think she knew something because she had laid out her path
Mm-hmm.
and she knew what she wanted from my brother and myself going forward. Um, her death was hard because it was so unexpected, but at the same time, we didn't go through the messiness. It was one less thing we had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
All we wanted to do was bury my mom, give her a great
Send off.
celebration, send off. Um, no family should have to go through that extra drama fighting over property at the time of a loved one's death.
Mm-hmm.
So I have encouraged even some of my extended family, if you will, because everybody knew what was happening pretty much throughout the family. And I think by looking at our situation, even has inspired a lot of my extended family members to get their act together. Uh, and I'm happy to say that I think some of those family members have even contacted you to get their act together,
Yeah.
their house in order, and it's been a wonderful thing actually because by our nightmare living it and
Mm-hmm.
surviving it, not
Mm-hmm.
only did we survive, we thrived because of the one property that my mom had in her name, which she willed to my brother and myself. We were so successful in maintaining it
Mm-hmm.
to sell it at a decent price, and and here we are. Here we are.
So when you say the one property that was in your mother's name, so it was it in your mother's name only, or was it in your mom and your dad's name
Mhm.
with as joint tenants?
Right. That was the one property she
Okay.
found out that one person was telling the neighborhood and his friends that the property would soon be his because the person he was the son-in-law of the person my dad trusted.
But it wasn't.
But it wasn't.
It was actually in your mom and your dad's name
Yes.
as joint tenants.
So
Okay.
when my mom caught wind of that, she hurried up and got it transferred out of his name. She went back to my dad and said, you better get that out of her name right now. Again, like I said, my dad has set up everything for business purposes, tax reasons, and I tell people if you ever gonna do something like that, you better make damn sure you trust the person you're gonna quit deed claim your property over
But
to.
you, well, so is trusting really the factor? Because it sounds like your dad trusted this person.
There you go. All right, you're right. Trust isn't a factor. You better make sure that person has decent character. Okay, that's the factor that the person is not a snake. And I hate to go there, but you got to be sure. And even then, a quick claim deed, maybe you need to throw in some caveats there. I don't know. I'm not an attorney.
Well, the quick claim deed won't work for what
For
you're trying to do. It's
to set up boundaries, if you will, or guardrails that somebody can't come and undermine you and take your property.
so the quick claim deed, by definition,
Mm-hmm.
is a transfer of property where you're giving someone all the interest that you have,
Okay.
right? So a deed is what we use to transfer ownership.
Okay.
So if you give someone a quitclaim deed, you are in essence transferring ownership of the property to them. So legally, that property owns to the person you deeded to. So that's why, for estate planning purposes, quitclaim deeds won't work. Now, what you can do is you could do a will where you could leave it to somebody. But remember, will's not, when it comes to real estate, is not what you want to do because it requires probate, right? And
That's why you
so
set up a trust.
that's why you set up a trust. And then we have different types of trust.
Right.
And so for real estate, I prefer, it's my personal preference to use land trust because land trusts pass by beneficiary designation, which is just like life insurance, pay on death accounts for, bank accounts and, things of that nature, financial accounts or pay on death accounts. And so it bypasses probate so that it's not subject to creditor claims,
Right.
which was the situation that you had with
Right.
your dad when he died, and it's not subject to administration expenses, which would be attorney's fees and things like that. And so it passes to whoever is named as the beneficiary outright by operation of law, kind of like a deed with joint tenancy, which is what your dad did before he died, years before he died, I
Yeah, yeah,
believe.
when he was still sound mind.
Years before he died, with your mom. And so by doing that, that in essence made sure that when he transitioned, the property went to her. But see, here's the thing with deeds in general, including deeds that pass by joint tenancy, is that we never know how life is going to happen.
That's right. Who'll go
And
first?
because we don't know how life is going to happen, whoever goes first, you don't know. So had your mom, went first, then of course you wouldn't have even been an heir
Right.
because you're part of a blended family,
Right.
right?
Interesting.
And so that means your dad still would have had to do something in order to provide for, children that are not, biologically his.
But the question is, if my mom had gone 1st, remember now, my dad was not of sound mind when he died.
At the time that he
At the
died.
time he died, yeah.
But and that's another caveat because if you're not of sound mind at the time that you die, you may have had a situation where somebody would have had to, petition the probate court for guardianship. And so with power of attorneys for healthcare, you get to designate in the power of attorney for healthcare if you want the person that you're designating as your agent to be your guardian.
And all
And
this,
so
and you should stress, all this takes time.
it takes time.
And meanwhile, bills are stacking up.
Yes. Yes. And so that's why it makes sense to do your estate plan at the earliest possible time.
That's right.
And it also makes sense because we don't know how life is going to happen
That's right.
to do, checkups. Like when you have major events that happen in your life, death, marriage, death of someone you may have left as a beneficiary,
Yes.
you have to check your estate plan and documents. If someone you named or thought that was a trusted individual,
Yes.
that, has now become an individual who you don't think is trusted anymore.
Update it.
You want to
Amend
update
it,
it
do
and
whatever.
remove those individuals,
Right.
From your estate planning documents.
You're absolutely right. You got to stay vigilant with that because at the time I did my will, I had a couple individuals down my line that I wanted to benefit. Uh, and I really hadn't seen these individuals since they were children. And when I saw them at a funeral, out of town funeral, I'm like, oh no. And so I think I came back and I did remove their names from my will. So it is, even if you have a estate plan and you have a will, stay diligent about it. See red flags along the way for people you may have put in that will, and it's fluid. It will change as time. The longer you live, the more you see. It's fluid. It will change, and don't be afraid to make those changes.
Okay. And if you had one, I guess, parting thoughts for individuals, what with respect to estate planning and getting it done, um, what would it be?
Something I learned from you. Estate planning is done out of love. not fear, not who's going to get what. You are taking a lot of stress off of the surviving members of the family you love.
Hmm.
Take care of business. This is not you want this to have that and that. You are taking so much stress off these people. These are your loved ones. Don't leave your family in disarray. And it's just so easy to do.
Yeah.
Go in to your attorney, my beloved attorney, but whatever attorney.
Yeah.
Go in, talk. It's so easy to put something in writing, set it up, get it documented, get it notarized, do what you need to do, get it legalized. It's unbelievable how much stress you can take away. Let your family mourn you,
Hmm.
not your property, not your money. Let them mourn you as
Yeah.
an individual. And with my dad, we didn't have that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I like to tell people that, you have to prepare
You have
for
to prepare.
everything in life. And, as much as we might not like it and don't want to believe it, but death is a part of life.
It's part of life. And the longer I live, the more I'm like, uh, this is just life. As a good friend who is Haitian said to me, life gonna be life.
Life can be like it.
Life is gonna be life. And it is life. None of us gonna escape death.
Yeah.
It's a sure thing.
Yep.
It's coming.
Yep.
So whoever estate planning is for who is surviving.
Yeah.
Take care of business. Your loved ones, if you
Yeah.
love them and care for them, you will take care of business and get it done today.
All right.
Don't put it off.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Cole,
Thank you.
for chatting with me.
Anytime. And, it's just like I said, you've been a blessing for me and my family and God and pointed us in the right path. And I told someone the other day, my mother just loved some Shanita. So she knew what she was doing. Okay.
And I loved her. I think she
Yes.
was one of my. She was
One of
she
your first
probably was
clients,
one
I
of my
think.
very first
First client.
elderly
I think she
clients.
was number 17.
One of my yeah, and she was one of my probably like the third or fourth elderly client.
Yeah,
You
and at
know,
that time we came to you, like I said, my dad was getting ready to transition, and she was so lost.
yeah,
And I think after that first meeting with you, we left your office. I could tell in my mom's face and everything. She was walking on air. Now she felt
yeah,
like she knew it was too late to
hmm
do certain things,
hmm
but nonetheless, she knew she was in good hands,
yeah,
and that meant the world. And as you know, whenever we needed anything, call Shanita.
yeah.
Call Shanita. And to this day, I'm calling
Yeah.
Shanita.
All right.
All
Well,
right. Well, thanks for having me anytime.
all right.
Okay.